Hello. In this video, we'll see how to export and import a data flow from one OSC instance to another and see what all artifacts are handled as part of this export-import process. Here's a data flow that I have. Let me look at its definition. It sources from two data sets, customers, which is Excel-based, and sales, which sources from a database table. There are a few transformations, and the final output is saved to a dataset storage. The sales dataset sourcing from a table uses this connection. Under the datasets tab, we see customers and sales, which are inputs in the data flow, and sales by customer, which is the output of the data flow. If I inspect the customer's dataset, I see that its size is about 7 MB. Okay, now let me go to my data flow and export it. We have a couple of options to choose from. We can choose to include the data as well as the connection details in case you have a database table as a dataset. To begin with, I'll go with the default and not include data or connection credentials. Let me click on Save. Data flows are exported as DVA files similar to project exports. Now let me go to my target instance. I will import this data flow using the Import Project Flow option. I choose my DVA and click on Import. So my data flow is imported, and if I open it, I see the data flow definition is brought over. But I don't see any data in either of my data sets, and this is because when I exported the data flow, I did not choose to include data. If I go to data sets and inspect the Excel file, I see the size is 7.5 KB and not the 7 MB, which is the original size of the dataset. If I try to use the table-based dataset in a project, it first prompts me for login details to the database. This is because I did not choose to include the connection credentials as part of the export. So although it created the connection object, credentials were not part of the import. Once I provide the credentials, I'm able to use the dataset in my target instance. If we look at the dataset that is the output from the data flow, we see that its size is 0. So this means when you export a data flow and choose not to include data and connection details, only the definitions or the metadata for the data flow, the data sets, and the connections are included as part of the export. Actual data and connection credentials are not included. Now let me go back to my source instance and export the data flow again. And this time I choose to include data as well as connection credentials. Let me save it as a new DVA file. Let me now go back to my target, which is cleaned up and empty, and I will go and import the new data flow DVA. Import is successful. Let me inspect the data sets. First, I look at the customer's Excel file, and it's close to 7 MB, so that has the complete data. I go to connections, I see the imported connection, and the login credentials are imported as well. So now I can simply go to my data flow and run it, and it will execute successfully because it has the data as well as the complete connection details all imported. Note that the sequence also has an option to export similar to the data flows. So the options of including data and connection credentials are available with the sequence as well. So once you export a sequence, you can import it in your target instance using the same import project flow option. Thanks for watching this video.